So the first order of business before even starting on this wiring project is cleaning up the garage so there's actually somewhere to work. So we get on that. Alright, first order of business after getting things somewhat organized is figuring out where this wiring is going to be routed. Well, the first step in order to figure that out is also figure out where the ECU and CDI box is going to sit, because that'll determine where our main harness, our injector harness, well, not really the injector harness, but the main harness is where they're going to be routed from. Ultimately, you obviously know, it's going to stuff through the engine bay at some point, but from where does it start? So I guess what I'm going to figure out is where the most beneficial place would be to put this. Everything else was underneath the passenger side floorboard area, right about there. It's not really all that accessible. It is somewhat hidden, but when you're wiring things, it can be hard to get to. So that's one thing to keep in mind is ease of access for maintenance and other things like that. So I guess I'll kind of see just different spots of where, could look at putting this. It's fairly large. So you definitely want somewhere secure to put it. Like I could put it like right here. But then you gotta think, whenever I'm sliding that transmission in and out, is that gonna get hit? Or is that gonna be a problem whenever I'm pulling it through? Which it really shouldn't be. Right here should be, decently out of the way. So say we'll set this here, maybe back here somewhere. That gives routing for the wiring to, come up and over or wherever it needs to go, as long as it's, there's enough length in the harness to do so, which this is a small car, so there should be plenty of length in the harness to do whatever I need to do. But this is also not a very tall box, so I could, start here, wherever I need to put it. I could even put it up there if I want to, So that may end up going over here, but then again, this is kind of a not a very tight panel either. It's aluminum. It's just kind of there to keep any potential hazardous debris from coming into the driver's compartment. So, the CDI box is larger than the Dominator, I think. They give you a nice template for it as well, so that's cool. They may do that with the Dominator as well. But this also has all its wiring bits. This is more like a square, as the Dominator's a rectangle, so let's see what we can do with it. It's not crazy heavy or anything, so I could put that here and then put the Dominator right beside it. So it would be you know, something like that. But I think that would probably work. Because there's really not enough room for both of them on the firewall. There's really not any room at all, honestly. I could probably fit one of them in there. I might be able to get both. But then again, yes, I mean, I could fit that there and maybe the Dominator up top. But as far as like being able to see like the indicators and stuff like that, or being able to plug things in, this is probably a better bet, having everything right here accessible. So make wiring a whole lot easier, because I can actually be outside of the car, you know, setting things up as opposed to being crawled up in there. So I might go with this route. Go ahead and set up some of the harnesses in there and see if they're long enough for what I need to do. So that is a slight change in mounting location for these two boxes. This panel right here is not flat enough to put the Dominator over here, so I just opted to put it right here. It still looks tasteful. Yeah. So I'll be able to run the main power from back here, and I'll probably go straight through. Or I can just run it up the side and straight into the battery box right there. Won't be a problem. And then I can run everything probably down and around, either straight down that tube and out the firewall, or, you know, up this X brace and across the dash bar. For anything, you know, like the wiring for the race pack, it'll have to go through there. I got a little wiring for, you know, the water methanol and things of that nature. And most of my wiring is going to come straight through up there, right through that grommet. So there'll be plenty of room for wiring and everything. I'm still probably going to use this. Well, I'm definitely going to use that, because that's part of my switch panel stuff. Just a relay block. But I mean, I can trigger the relays with the Dominator. Anything I need to trigger, instead of having everything, you know, on the switch panel up there, I can trigger those items through the Dominator. So that won't be a problem. So I'm gonna figure out this mess up here for wiring, but I've got to hook up the wires and run them up to the front of the engine and see if I can figure out some good routing for that. A little update on the wiring progress. I've got most everything ran, if you can see all this. And the main harness comes up the side, and then it splits down to a two relays, solid states. Still gotta clean up and loom these wires. These all will come across the top, and here's the relay board that I kept from the original stuff. I'm going to add one more of these MSD solid state relays. That'll control the fuel pumps, that'll control the fans, and supply power to and the trans brake solenoid and all that good stuff. I did put some wire loom on, like, here's the connector for the launch button that's on the shifter. Did that up with some heat shrink and put some glue to retain everything, keep it all nice and neat. Then I've got, this will be really the only wire going to the transmission. Be the single blue wire for the treads brake solenoid. And there's a connector under here. So that looks all nice and clean. You can still take it apart and everything. And then I've got my bump button and line lock running through this connector, so I can just completely remove the steering wheel. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to get rid of the Racepack IQ3 dash because it will not interface with the Holley with MSD 600 and all that, so I have to get a new Holley dash. Main power wires for the MSD 600 and the Dominator straight to the battery, power and ground. That's pretty much it. I mean, I've still got, some of these wires and things to finish terminating. This whole extra wires here, I believe these are, I don't think I need to use any of these because everything's going to be taken through the 600. So out in the engine bay, we have the main coil wire harness, and then all the sensors and the injector harness. Some of these I won't actually be using. I think there's like 2 of them that I actually won't be using, like the auto air control motor, and that might be the only one that I'm not using. But I'll be able to have fuel pressure, map, this one, the IAC, auto air control, I won't be using that one. Oil pressure, what else do I have? MAD sensor, and O2 sensor. So most of these, pretty much all of these except for, I believe 2 of them I'll be using. So this will be, kind of controlled where everything's coming through. And I'm gonna get the wiper cowl put back on the car. So this whole thing, all these wires are gonna be hidden. And I've got my little harness that I've got to, gonna get a little Deutsch connector, 2-prong, that'll connect these here, and then I'll run that through a loom. So that'll be able to be disconnected in case I need to change a pump or, remove anything, what have you. So yeah, that's pretty much everything. I think I'm going to get a connector for these. I got a fan, water pump, fuel pump. I think that's about all. Trans-cooler, fan, line lock. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut all these zip ties off, pull everything away and repaint the bars. Rewire all this and put it in a nice loom so it looks decent. But then that'll be 100% rewired on the whole car. It's looking good. Alright, so the wiring in the cab is pretty much done. Got a little wire mess up there I've got to tidy up. But here's the switch panel and everything wired. Got distribution, got the boost solenoids, got the Holley and the MSD 600 ignition. All that's good to go. A lot cleaner than it was before. Still not perfect, but it will suffice. All looking good. Up here in the engine bay area, I think I've got every sensor terminated. I've got to put a little bit of wiring loom over this, but this is throttle position. Got the map sensor. That's for the cam sync. That'll go in here after I get oil so I can prime the engine, and then I can stab the cam sync in there. All the injectors are plugged up. Still gotta zip tie and clean up the wiring just a little bit. But everything's looking pretty good. Got really lucky on this deal here. It's actually, I didn't have to modify the intake at all for the elbow and this throttle body. I mean, you can't get hardly any closer than that. After the little 1/8 inch gasket goes in here, I mean, it's going to be absolutely perfect on there. So that worked out well.